Chapter 13, Early Morning. Within the log, but not too far from its entrance, Poppy found herself a soft place to sleep. There, curled up in a tight ball with her tail tip parked right below her nose, she felt safe enough to sleep. When she woke after a long, sound slumber, it was dark and quiet. She got up slowly and stretched her aching muscles, then looked about for some sign of Aerith. The old porcupine was nowhere to be seen. Was he gone for good? Not likely, Poppy knew, but he might be gone for hours. She also knew she was hungry. Cautiously, she made her way to the log's opening. It was night, and she could see neither sky nor stars. The silver sheen of moonlight made a lace of canopy of trees above while transforming the ground into a carpet of velvet gray. She sniffed the air. Mingled with the sharp scent of pine and fir, she breathed in delicious hints of good things to eat. Nuts, berries, seeds, fragrant flowers, tender roots. There were sounds, too. The creak and groan of trees, the sudden shrill cries of animals, the occasional fuzz-buzz of passing bugs. Poppy could only feel astonishment. This was not dim with the forbidding. This was dim with the beautiful. A luxuriant world that teemed with life, a universe that held more than she'd ever seen or dreamed of, a paradise that filled her with an almost aching desire to dance through it and see more. Trembling with excitement, Poppy was about to take a step away from the log when she chanced to look up. On the gray, lifeless tree, with its hole on its side, an acorn toss of where she was, perched a brooding owl. The moment she saw the owl, Poppy darted back into the safety of the log. There she stayed, her heart thudding. Had the owl seen her? She did not think so. Could it in fact be Mr. Ocox? If it was, how could he have tracked her? But perhaps it was another owl. She had to know. In any case, her elation was gone. The forest was not to be for her. She sighed at the fright she felt. Poppy tried to calm herself. First, she pondered over her discovery that Mr. Ocox had lied about porcupines. At least she didn't have to be frightened about them. In spite of herself, she giggled when she thought about Aerith. Such a likable, unlikable creature. Then she thought of what else Aerith had told her, that Mr. Ocox was actually afraid of porcupines. The notion that the owl was afraid of anything gave Poppy considerable pleasure. Perhaps he was afraid of other things as well. So Poppy thought again about her suspicion that there was something at Newhouse that alarmed the owl. Oh, if only there was. If only she could find it. Feeling more hopeful, Poppy returned to the log's threshold to wait for Aerith. She wanted to take another look at the owl, but was afraid to. Instead, she sat content for a moment to gaze out at the beautiful forest. And here we have 3 stars, which means passage of time. The owl Poppy had seen was indeed Mr. Ocox. He was perched upon the entrance to his home, flexing his sharp talons and staring gloomily into the forest. Now and again he swiveled his head and blinked, then clacked his beak. Hungry, he wished that anything would reveal itself by moving. Once, just out of the corner of his eye, he thought something moved at the entrance of the old log that lay not far from his snag, but it was gone so fast he could not be sure. Was it the porcupine? He hoped not. He hated Aerith. Just the thought of him made Mr. Ocox drop down inside his snag. Better to sit in the darkness and listen than deal with that creature. If something came by, he would hear it. When are you leaving for Newhouse? Aerith asked Poppy. The old porcupine has made his way back to the hollow tree before sunup. Bits of bark were stuck about his lips, chin, and whiskers. Soon, Poppy replied evasively. Good, said Aerith. You're a sweet kid, but I like my privacy. Aerith, Poppy began after a moment, I know you want me to go, and I want to go too, but when I looked out before, I think I saw an owl. Oh, that snag just beyond my door? Asked Aerith. The what? The old tree with a broken top. Poppy nodded. There was an owl sitting there. She said, I was told Mr. Ocox lives in Dimwood. Could that be him? Aerith snorted. Follow me. Somewhat anxiously, Poppy trailed the porcupine out of the log. That snag you're talking about? Aerith said, pointing. Yes. Well, then, that's where Ocox lives. Poppy jumped back. There? Absolutely. Don't you mind? Poppy whispered, edging closer to Aerith. Nah, he's a jerk. Anyway, he doesn't get near me, but he rules the whole territory. And so here you can see Aerith and Poppy. And on this page, you can see Mr. Ocox in the tree. Him rule? Maggot milk. But it's true. Poppy, Aerith snorted. There are lots of creatures who live around here. Some are mean like Ocox. Some are sweet like me. Nobody rules. But he says he does. Oh, bees burp. Just because you're scared of someone doesn't mean you have to believe him. Aerith turned toward the snake. Ocox, he bellowed. Ocox! No! Poppy cried, don't! It was too late. Mr. Ocox popped up in a snake hole. In a panic, Poppy scrambled to hide behind Aerith's tail. What do you want? Mr. Ocox demanded. I've got a mouse here by the name of Poppy who says you've been calling yourself ruler of Dimwood. Is that true? Instead of answering, Mr. Ocox shifted his head, trying to catch a glimpse of Poppy. When he saw her timidly peeking from behind Aerith's tail, he jutted his head forward, opened his eyes wide, and hissed. Aerith laughed. She also told me you claimed porcupines eat mice, that you protect them from me? Ocox! Do you believe that garbage, or you just like the way it tastes in your mouth when you say it? Suddenly, Mr. Ocox's eyes narrowed. Where did you get that earring, girl? He shrieked at Poppy. That's something I ate. Poppy became so frightened she began to back up. What I eat is mine, girl, mine, Mr. Ocox screamed. Listen here, Ocox, Aerith snapped. This mouse has as much right to do what you... This mouse has as much right as you do to go and do what she wants. I don't want you messing with her. But Mr. Ocox, ignoring Aerith, only cried, Poppy, listen to me. I don't like what you're doing here, but you might as well know the only way you'll ever get back to Grey House is when I dump your dead carcass on your father's front porch. With that, he clacked his beak, then dropped down inside the tree. Alarmed and furious, Poppy ran forward and began beating her clenched paws on Aerith's nose. You lummox! She cried. You lump, you rattling pincushion! The porcupine only grinned. Why did you tell him about me? Poppy shouted. Didn't you hear what he said? He's going to kill me. Oh, he's nothing but feathers. He doesn't bother me. But you've got quills, Poppy protested. Jealousy don't become you, girl. Aerith, Poppy implored, I have to get to Newhouse. It's a matter of keeping my family alive. You look pretty small to be a heroine. Poppy looked down at her toes. That's not the only reason I'm going. Oh? It's because of Ragweed. Who? Ragweed, he was my friend. Poppy sniffed. See, he wanted to ask me to marry him atop Bannock Hill, said it was the most romantic spot around. I did want to marry him, so I said I'd go, but only after asking permission of Mr. Ocox. That's the rule. But Ragweed said, where's the romance when you have to ask permission? So we went without asking. When Ragweed and I got to the top, he did ask me to marry him. But before I could answer, Mr. Ocox killed him. Then later, the owl said it was because Ragweed and I went to the hill without permission that my family couldn't move to Newhouse. When they heard that, most of them blamed me. Poppy pushed the tears away. So you see, I'm going to Newhouse to prove our being on the hill had nothing to do with Mr. Ocox's refusal. If I don't prove it, my family can't go to Newhouse and we'll be ruined. I'll be ruined. So I have to go. Only now that you've told Mr. Ocox I'm here, he'll follow me and keep me from finding the truth. You've got to come with me. Aerith shook his head. Sorry, kid. This is your business, not mine. Anyway, I need some sleep. Yawning, Aerith turned and began to move toward the log. Aerith, Poppy cried out, if you got me to Newhouse, I'd get that salt for you. Aerith stopped short, then spun around. A dreamy look filled his eyes. The salt lick? From Newhouse? The whole thing? You would? Really? Poppy placed a paw over her heart. I swear. Aerith grinned. Now you're talking, girl. Let's move it. Without a moment's hesitation, he began to lumber through the woods. Poppy took one look at the snake in the dawn light, then tore after the porcupine. The two of them had barely gone when Mr. Ocox popped out of his hole. Having heard the entire conversation, he wasn't sure which he felt more, fury or fear. But he did know he had to stop Poppy. He launched himself into the air. End of chapter.